when John coached him, they had a kid on their team essentially that they found out was 4 to 5 grade levels behind in reading. And so that really just ignited a passion for this particular cause.
Today on the Sideline, Executive Director with Champions for Literacy, Jason Baker, is up next. Welcome back to the Fifth Quarter Podcast. I'm your host, Sandy Adams, and this is where we dive deep into the world of sports and the athletes that make up that world. So grab your iced tea or your coffee, because I'm from the South. Get ready to be motivated and inspired, because this is where the real stories are told. Today, we are back on the sideline with the Executive Director of Champions for Literacy, based here in Memphis, Tennessee. Welcome to the show, Jason Baker.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Really excited to be here.
You're quite welcome. And this is not our first get together. I met you, 2-3 years ago. I just joined the Rebounders, the Memphis Rebounders. Membership will be opening up soon for that. I just joined the Rebounders, and we'll get into the name change and everything, but it was a program that Coach Hardaway is very much supportive of, and the Memphis Tigers do participate in it. So let's just start off with, tell us a little bit about you first before we get into all the organization, because you are the executive director. So who is Jason Baker?
Yeah. Well, you gave it away a little bit. We met through Memphis Tiger basketball connection. So we're Tiger family. You and I are. So I'm a lifelong Memphian. I grew up here. I did a little stint on the West Coast for grad school, but I grew up in Memphis. I'm a hoops kid at heart, and so grew up here. Grew up in the Highland Heights neighborhood. Went to the University of Memphis. Graduated in yeah. So graduated the year before the D Rose year, and so that reignited all of our love for basketball and Tiger hoops. And so yeah, finished there in 07, and then have been in the nonprofit space in Memphis for over 15 years, and I have done a little bit of work in for-profit as well. But ultimately, I'm somebody who's passionate about kids,
Right.
community change and impact, and love sports. I played pickup basketball at 5:30 this morning, or attempted to. Got to get some
Attempted
sweat
to.
in at least. Yeah. And so, I love to see, just based on my career, love to see kids be impacted and hoops head. So love to see sports be utilized to create that impact.
Okay, I have a side question. What did you do your grad school in? What was your graduate degree?
Yeah, so my graduate degree, I did a master's in youth, family, and culture. So the first part of my career, the first 10 years, was spent in a church setting, working with middle and high school kids, and so just serving kids through adolescence and serving families. And yeah, so I went to Fuller Theological Seminary in Pasadena, California.
Okay, excellent. I didn't even know that about you. So, see, I'm learning something new already.
Right?
Let's talk about Champions for Literacy and what is it?
Yeah, so Champions for Literacy, CFL, to make it a little easier,
Mhm.
is we're a national nonprofit organization that uses the power of sports to impact kids reading. So we are headquartered or home based here in Memphis, but we're doing work all over the country. We always like to say Miami to Seattle.
Right.
Um, and so really, there are two beliefs that guide our organization. One is that reading is transformational,
Mhm.
whether that's a lower income kid in Memphis, Chicago, or Seattle, or for you and I, Sandy, we know
Right.
like so much of our personal growth, we can point to a book on our shelf.
Yes. Yes.
So one, reading is transformational. Two, as you and I both know and believe, sports have a unique ability to just rally communities around causes, to bring
Sure.
awareness to causes and to ignite change and impact within those causes. And so really what our organization does at the end of the day is we provide opportunities for athletes across
Mhm.
any age level, whether you're a sixth grade athlete or you're Desmond Bain from the Memphis Grizzlies. Like,
Right.
we provide opportunities for you to plug in and to impact this cause. So we've been around 11 years, and in some ways we're just getting started based on the vision that we have for the organization.
So let's dive into a little bit as we, because I think it's also important to understand, and it's an interesting story about how the organization was founded. And originally, it was Coaching for Literacy. So let's
Yeah.
kind of start off with, how the organization was found, because there is a connection with the Memphis basketball team, the men's team. But let talk about the how it got created.
Sure, yeah, and I'll walk you through the kind of coaching to
Yeah.
champions as well. So some listeners are probably like, "Wait, did the name change?" So
I still called it Coaching for Literacy this morning. I was like typing things up.
yeah, we always joke that we're still kind of recovering users of coaching
Right.
for literacy around the office. So CFL makes it easy. We stuck with the CFL with the rebrand,
Yes.
but yeah. So quick origin and background story on us. So there's a if you're a Memphian and or a Tiger basketball fan, you know the Wilfong family. So legends in the city, both from a Tiger basketball standpoint and just from a community involvement and impact standpoint. So the Wilfongs are just amazing, amazing family. Jonathan Wilfong. So John Wilfong played for the Tigers,
Right.
85, Final Four team, et cetera. So his son, Jonathan, when he was a senior at MUS in high school here in Memphis, um, one of his high school teachers challenged their class to come up with kind of an organizational idea
Right.
or an organizational model to impact the community. So, pretty broad project. And so Jonathan, reflected back on just his life
Right.
experience up to that point as an 18-year-old. And he was a basketball player, just like
Hmm.
John, coached him in AAU. And so when John coached him, they had a kid on their team essentially that they found out was 4 to 5 grade levels behind in reading. And so that really just ignited a passion for this particular cause
Right.
for the Wilfongs. And so they were able to, in partnership with the kid's family, get him some support, catch him up on reading. Essentially, he ends up playing football at LSU, drafted by the Patriots, wins a Super Bowl ring. I mean, pretty wild story,
Sure.
but wouldn't have been able to get into college if his reading wasn't improved and strengthened. And so that started this journey really for Jonathan and for the Wilfong family to just ask the question, what can we do,
Right.
in our very natural way to impact this really important cause? And so Jonathan and another classmate at MUS, Andrew Renshaw, kind of invented or came up with what was Coaching for Literacy at the time. And they just kind of started asking like, well, what role could sports play in this cause?
Hmm.
We know it's most America. I think 70% of Americans watch more than 5 hours of sports every week. This is a powerful platform, and so essentially they started reaching out to college basketball coaches and saying, hey, would you kind of hold this issue up? Would you put it on a
Right.
pedestal? Would you talk about it in your post game pressers? Would you help maybe drive funds, for local reading programs that are serving kids? And so coaching for literacy was, so that name makes sense in light of that. And really over the past 10 or 11 years, the work has just evolved and grown.
Right.
And so we've been able to bring in more audiences other than simply coaches. And so we needed a kind of a word that served as a
Sure.
better, and so
Sure.
thus the shift to champions. But yeah, it's an amazing origin story. Jonathan went to play for Larry Brown at SMU, so us Tiger fans very familiar with Larry. And
Yes.
yeah, so Jonathan got Larry on board, his freshman or sophomore year in college when he was playing for him, and Larry was very supportive, and that really ignited more and
Right.
more teams to get on board. So Jonathan still he's co-founder, but he chairs our finance committee, serves as a board member. I mean, I had a call with him yesterday. He's
Right.
highly engaged in helping to move the needle forward for the organization.
It just goes to show you how a simple project that a teacher kind of challenges a student to do, how a simple project can change so many lives. I mean, it really can. Let's take just a second and talk about the need for literacy, because I don't think, unless people are out there and they are in certain areas or involved in certain organizations, I don't think they understand the need for literacy. As you talked about the child, the boy on the AAU team with Jonathan, his reading was not up to par, and that's not something that's unusual, especially in the inner cities. So let's speak to that for just a second.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so unusual that across America, roughly 30%, only 30% of kids are reading on grade level. And when we say grade level, fourth grade is the mile marker that's
Right.
generally used based on if a kid is reading on grade level by fourth grade, we can follow that trajectory, financially, employment wise, just kind of life and success in society. So 30% in Memphis, it's lower than that. It's between 20 and 25%
Right.
kids reading on grade level. And so, yeah, it's a cause that is pretty under the radar. If you think of other things that kids may struggle with, a lot of times they are illnesses or things that we literally wear on our sleeve. But literacy is a very kind of undercover, under the radar cause that we should be involved with. So my favorite stat when it comes to literacy, just to highlight the power of it and to highlight really how few causes like this really like translate or transcend economics in the way that literacy does. But if a kid is reading on grade level by fourth grade, there's an 80, and they're in a lower income community, there's an
Right.
89% chance they graduate high school and have a career. If they're in a middle to upper income community, they're reading on grade level by fourth grade, there's a 90% chance they graduate high school and have a career. So you're
Wow.
talking about a statistical difference of 1%,
Right.
essentially nothing. So the power, for us, it's bigger than economics. It's bigger than high school graduation. It's bigger than work. Paired with that is because we can read. You and I get to come on podcast and talk
Yes.
about really exciting things and think about how we want to use our life to make a difference, and think about what we want to how we want to spend our time working. What's a
Mm-hmm.
job that it it's just reading is life, and reading means life. It's bigger
Sure.
than again economics and job opportunity, but purpose, and
Right.
just navigating the world and figuring out where you come from and who you want to be.
Well, and also I think we've talked about this before. I always like to talk about one of my teachers in college. Education is power. If you can read and you can educate yourself, you can vote. One of my classmates back in college, our professor, he was asking our professor, like, how can we encourage more people to vote? And he said, educate them. But in order to educate somebody, they have to know how to read. And the other thing is when kids, especially with lack of reading, if they cannot read, they do hide it, and they are embarrassed about it. So it's harder to figure out, right? And if they're trying to hide it, then other emotions are going to come out, whether it's depression or anger or acting up, and they don't want to go to school and they're sick at their stomach all the time. And kids go through those type of situations. If there's something at school that they don't want to be involved in, you're going to have some type of reaction to that behavior wise. So there's so many benefits of that. And when we did our other podcast for the Memphis Rebounders, I talk about, and it's illiteracy. It's not with children, but my father couldn't read or write. It was a different time, a different place, and he grew up. He did go to a little school, but he knew his numbers, he knew his alphabet, but he couldn't read or write.
Mhm.
And for me, just like with Jonathan, it impacted me as I grew up because I had a parent, and then subsequently, and ironically, my mom married my stepfather, and he could not read or write. So
Hmm.
I had two men in my life that I highly respected that could not read or write. And so for me, it was something that I was very aware of. And when you reached out to me, I love the organization. I love what it's about. And for Memphis, especially, we're so tied into sports. And I think that, one thing I learned in school was if you want to educate people of any age, find something that they enjoy and tie that to the aspect of education, because then they're more likely to want to be involved in it. Um, let's talk about really quickly the impact that this organization has had on Memphis, and if you have some numbers to throw out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, the university has been, and coaching staffs and teams have just been so generous and willing to partner with us, through various coaches over time, both men's and women's teams. So we've been working with Memphis. This coming year will be our 10th game.
Wow.
So what the game is, we run a program called Fight for Literacy Games, and CFL really runs two primary programs. One is on the team side, Fight for Literacy Games, and we have a program that younger individual athletes can join and make an impact as well. And I can share more about that. But yeah, on the Fight for Literacy Games side, we last year worked with 86 teams across the country, to raise awareness, to promote the power of reading and do some fun things like that. So yeah, this coming year will be 10 years with Memphis, which is amazing. And as you know, Coach Hardaway, it's you're always reminded of seemingly how many lives he's lived and won just with his
Right.
vast life and professional experience. But he always shares a really great story when we go on his radio show, about literacy. So it's not that he says, sure, we'll do a Fight for Literacy
Right.
game. He puts his heart into it as much as he has time and can. And so we've been doing that game with Memphis for 10 years. And essentially that game raises awareness, for the cause. And then fans are invited to donate to support local reading
Right.
programs in Memphis serving kids. So just shy of 10 years, we've generated $350,000
That's
for
amazing. I mean, it
programs.
really is.
Yeah, you're really talking about 9 games total. It's one
Right.
home game a year. And so again, just to highlight the power of the platform of sports, and so there are thousands of kids that have been impacted across 3 organizations in Memphis that that game supports and that initiative supports. So MTR has a summer reading camp, Memphis Teacher Residency,
Right.
Knowledge Quest, and South Memphis and Streets Ministry. So they're all doing a lot of things to serve kids, but reading and literacy tutoring and training is a
Sure.
component of that. And so we come alongside and just serve as a creative kind of middle person organization to make some fun things happen. And even just beyond, again, hosting the game, we took the Tigers to Bruce Elementary last year
Yes, you
to
did.
read kids. And exactly what you said, Sandy, when we always say we need the coolest kids in town talking about reading. And so,
Right.
you see the light bulbs go off for kids, and it's demonstrated when we reach out to a school to say, hey, we want the Tigers to come talk about reading and read to your kids. I mean, they'll clear the schedule for
Right.
athletes to come in and talk about it. So yeah, Memphis has been amazing to us on the women's side as well. They do a game every year. So those numbers that I shared
Mhm.
are men's and women's games combined. So we're excited for year 10, and we've got some fun things, kind of some different special things we want to do for the 10th year next year.
So let's get back to that for just a second because I want to talk about NIL, which is name, image, and likeness. And that was something that has come up in the area of college sports. How has NIL affected the organization? Because it has. It's changed you guys a little bit. So how speak to that about how it's affected the organization.
Yeah, it's really become, we have a program called Collective Impact, which is really a play off of
Mhm.
NIL collectives. It's really become, I spoke to the games with the college teams. Impact Players is our younger athlete program, and then Collective Impact. So if you look at the CFL stack, those are the 3 programs that we run. So NIL has allowed us to stand up an entirely new program in the
Right.
past 2 years. And so, 2021, when everything came down that summer, we were just asking the question, we've been around collegiate athletics
Right.
doing five literacy games for 10 years. What could our role be in the NIL space? And so fast forward 3 years later, it's been really fun to watch our team stand this up and adapt. But essentially, we have relationships with NIL collectives, 8 of them across the country, and we actually serve as a fundraising partner for the collective.
Right.
And so we provide a tax exempt donor option for donors to the collective, and then we retain a percentage of that gift. We send a larger percentage back to the collective, and then that money, it's really neat. That money gets earmarked for players to engage literacy in their community, and so it's true NIL in that sense. So the
Right.
players are then in partnership with CFL to read books to kids, to do book signings, to hold, kind of incentivize sports camps for kids
Right.
around reading and those kind of things. So it's been a game changer for us, and we felt honored that collectives would trust us to be their charity partner of choice.
Right.
And so Bluff City Collective, the Memphis Men's Basketball Collective, is one of our partners
Right.
in that regard. And so if you're a donor interested in NIL to Tiger Hoops, you can give through Bluff City. Let them know that you wanted to support the CFL partnership. It'll be tax deductible for you, and then the largest percentage of your gift will get all these new exciting Tiger players engaged in
Right.
literacy in Memphis.
So then you're not only helping to pay the player, give them money, right? Not give them money, they work for money, but you're also impacting the community and you're impacting a child's life by
Yeah.
what they do. And I think that's a fantastic triangle effect there. I just think that's really great. Let's go back because you wanted to talk about a brand new initiative, a brand new program that you guys are going to be run. I'm not with it this morning. Your guys are going to be rolling out this year, and can you talk to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, while we're on the theme of programs, so covered Fight for Literacy games, collective impact for NIL, and then Impact Players is a program that we've done some work around for a while, but we are officially standing up as an organization, naming a staff person to run it. Really
Right,
looking to grow it in Memphis. So Impact Players is if you look across the three programs, what they have in common is we are ultimately what we're doing is we're using sports to resource and inspire kids to become great
sure,
readers. So we're driving resources, make sure kids what they have what they need, and then we're putting athletes in front of them to inspire them. And so that's what the Impact Players program, it'll accomplish those two objectives, but it'll do it via the vehicle of middle and high school
right.
athletes. And so our team is really fired up and our board is really fired up about this program. So I'll tell you the quick origin story of kind of how we came up with the idea and where we're at going into 24-25 school year. So Dallin Hayden was a running back from Memphis. He went to Christian Brothers High
Okay.
School, was at Ohio State for 2 years, and then just transferred to Colorado to play for Coach Prime. So
Oh,
high, high level
right.
younger athlete. So he was the first athlete we worked with, at that level, middle or high school. And essentially in 2 seasons, his high school football seasons, he generated more than $25,000 to support local
That's
reading.
amazing.
Phenomenal, phenomenal. And so essentially he raised awareness about the cause, and then he invited friends and family to pledge to donate per touchdown
Right,
that he scored.
right.
Um, 25K. Certainly, he scored, several touchdowns throughout 2 years as a highly recruited, running back. And so that's really the kind of the genesis of that. And so we've looked at Dallin's story and asked, okay, what if we had 20 or 30 Dallins?
Hmm.
What could that mean for literacy programs so that they can focus on what they do best?
Right.
And we're gonna drive resources, inspiration, volunteers through these young athletes. And so we've had a few more come on board with us the past couple of years, and next year we'll have 6 Impact Players in Memphis. So all of those spots are already filled for next year. So we've got athletes from different sports, different races, different genders,
Right.
all coming together to get this leadership development experience. And so what they'll do with us is we'll take them through a literacy 101 course, if you will, or
Hmm.
webinar the team has put together. So we want them to understand the cause. We want them to find themselves within the cause, and then we will work with them to fundraise to meet a literacy need in Memphis, and then they'll go and volunteer their time to read to kids and to serve
Right.
kids in
Right.
that program. So we're really excited. If you're hearing this and you want your kid or grandkid or an athlete that to go through this, then we're looking for more.
Are you going to expand, or is this in other cities as well, or is it just right now in Memphis?
That's a great question. So short answer is yes, we will expand it. It's neat for us because we're Memphis homegrown. We're home based
Right.
here, so we want to prove what's possible in Memphis. And Dallas is another city that we're looking at. It's of course where Jonathan still
Right.
is from playing with Larry. And the neat thing, yeah. So in short, we'd love to have 10 to 15 cities that this program has stood up, but we want Memphis has changed the world in so many ways. So we
It
just want
has.
to
It
be
has.
another way that Memphis has changed the world and kind of sparked what can happen in other cities. So we're starting here. And Sandy too, the more I think about this program, it's the story of the Wilfong family and serving and supporting the kid that
Right.
was on the AAU basketball team. It's really kids serving kids.
Right.
And I don't know who can't get behind that. So
Exactly. And I, so many times I see organizations that rush to spread something out, or they rush to buy up new facilities, or they rush to throw out a new product. And I like the organizations. I went and listened to a speech by JJ Watt's mother. She runs his foundation. And she talked about when he created his foundation, he wasn't interested in like blowing up quickly. He wanted to stick to what he knew and do that really well and just keep learning and growing slowly. And I love the fact that, you're looking at the Memphis area first to make sure that you understand the need and what the athletes are going to do. And we had talked off camera before this started. And, I talked about, I see that it's such a good opportunity for middle and high school students to learn about building their brand. I
mm,
think that that plays well in getting college coaches to see them, because I've been told by many college coaches, they don't look at just your stats. They look at who you are as a person. I love when I teach this, I love the movie Draft Day with Kevin Costner, because he's got this struggle going on between these two athletes. One is like everybody wants him to go, number one pick in the football draft, in the NFL draft. And the other one has just been really working hard, grit and grind, just like he's from Memphis. And it comes down to character and who he decides to pick at the end. And what I've heard from so many coaches is character is so much more a part of it than just the stats. And I think for middle and high school students, not everybody can be, as you talked about, a Derrick Rose. You need other players on the bench, you need other players on the team. I had an interview a couple of weeks ago with Garrett Kelly, who's the director of basketball operations for Memphis.
yeah.
And he talked about how he was a walk on player for 3 years. In his fourth year, he earned a scholarship. And he said he learned quickly on that his freshman year that he was not going to go to the NBA. He learned quickly in the first pickup game that he was just not going to get any higher. But everybody has a role to play. And I think that for middle and high school students, not to give up in your dream, but look at to where you can make an impact, and not only this way, but also playing. And I think this is just a good opportunity with NIL to start pushing that narrative, how to build your brand and also how to impact everybody around you in your community, because you're giving back to your community. Am I correct that Tennessee now allows middle and high school students to earn NIL?
They
Right.
do. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm glad you went down the character and brand building,
Hmm.
route, because that's something we're really leaning into with this program,
Sure.
and even you and I have heard Coach Hardaway, going into this offseason talk about character.
Right.
I mean, you hear
Right.
it from college coaches all across. And so, if we solve, I don't know if solve is the right word, if we impact in a deep way the cause of literacy, we impact a lot of other causes. Um, and what we need long term to impact it is we need more young athletes to know about it at an
Right.
earlier age and understand, and just young people in general understand that they can impact the cause.
And they're put on a platform, especially if they've got a great talent, they're put on a platform where they can impact the community around them. And I think that when you've got kids that learn at an earlier age, the impact that they can have, I think that you then produce a better adult, an adult that has more
Yeah.
passion, has more caring, and, wants to, impact the community around them. Um, we talked about, what's coming up this year for Champions for Literacy, because I think you have a big thing with a specific Grizzly coming up.
Yeah, yeah. I tried to give a little tease earlier and drop the name, but yeah, we're really honored and humbled to be working with Desmond Bain around our annual fundraiser, which is
Mhm.
September 26th.
Right.
So it'll be at Central Station Hotel downtown, and obviously the night benefits and helps, strengthen and expand the work that we do. But Desmond and his team have been phenomenal to work with, and he cares about kids and
He
education,
does.
and so we're excited to be partnering with him. And so prior to the event, we're going to do some literacy impact work with him in Memphis.
Mhm.
So stay tuned for more details on that. And yeah, we're busy selling sponsorships for the event, and so if anybody out there wants a chance to come hang out with Desmond for a night, we'd love to chat. But yeah, that's obviously just a little thing for us later in the
Sure.
year.
Sure. Let's talk about who are you looking for specifically, like to partner with you guys? I mean, obviously the athletes, but in organizations or individuals, what are you looking for specifically that you need?
Yeah, that's a great question. I appreciate you asking that. Yeah, for us, if you care about sports, you care about kids, you care about education and impact, we would love a chance just to simply connect. I think we can always find a way in and an inroad to
Right.
work with us as an organization and partner with us. But, of course, as a nonprofit, we look for supporters and people who can join our financial support community to keep our work going and build the exciting story that I've alluded to, specifically in Memphis and around the country. Young athletes in particular, as
Mm.
we're looking to connect with them who, younger athletes and families who are interested in the Impact Players program. And then on the corporate side, so donor supporters, younger athletes. And then in terms of corporate, we're doing a lot of really fun events, whether it's with
Right.
Desmond or with the Tigers. And so there's really neat opportunity to support those events, to send employees from your corporation out, and just to deepen the impact of those events through sponsorship. And so, yeah, individual supporters, young athletes, corporate, those are easy ways to plug in with us.
Okay. And where can everyone find you?
Yes. So champions for spelled out FOR lit
Right.
LIT.org. And my contact information is on the website. We're on Instagram, Facebook,
Right.
X, LinkedIn, all those good things. But yeah, you can find all that on our website. And there's even a little form fill there if you want to reach out
Okay. Okay.
directly.
We'll put everything in the show notes. I do have a brand question because I noticed that if you type in, well, maybe that's changed now, but if you type in coaching for literacy, does it automatically forward to Champions for Literacy?
That's a good
Okay.
question. It does. If you go to
Okay.
coachingforliteracy.org, at least it did when we launched the rebrand in December. I can't say that I've gone back to check it again. So thank you for checking. And it should. Let me say that.
I'm all here to like, give you a little bit of pointers and say, go check that. I don't know. I haven't checked it. Um, but I just wanted to, because I mean, like it goes back to like when Memphis State changed its name to University of Memphis. Like it took almost 10 years to get people to start like, and now we still say Memphis State. And then you look at the brand name change of the Liberty Bowl. I'm never going to say all that. It's always going to be the Liberty Bowl. Like,
Right,
okay.
right.
Um, I do good to say University of Memphis, and I usually just shorten it to U of M and then just deal with that. But yeah, I mean, it's changing a brand name is important. I loved let's give a shout out to who created the branding identity for the new site in the organization.
Yeah. I'm really glad you brought that up. It was an 8-month process, so there were a lot of people that should get some credit along the
Okay.
way. Yeah. So we worked with two firms in town. One was Inferno in downtown Memphis. So we worked with
Right.
them on language and how we handle the rollout of the rebrand and all
Right.
that. And Simple Focus was really the group that brought it to life in terms of logo mark, kind of helping us think through there. How do we shift to a more modern, kind of
Right.
contemporary, like we want to attract athletes, so
Right.
that was the vantage point that we took in. So yeah, Simple Focus did the brand mark and also the website as well. And they were tremendous to work with. I think they did the website in like 6 weeks or seven
Yeah.
weeks. You
Yeah.
know,
I
really,
I
really.
love that it's you took that lime green color that you had originally and the site if from me, I just love visuals altogether and I just it's energizing, it's impactful. I mean, just everything about the site, the look of it, everything is just very modern. And I think that you did achieve that. And I think that it should speak to even middle school kids. It's going to be colorful and
Mm.
because and all kinds of things like that. Is there anything we didn't cover today?
I mean, we covered anything from the website to my backstory. So you're very thorough. No, this is excellent.
I do want to say, let's give your wife a shout out because you had told me she is in, where is she? She's overseas.
Yeah, she's in South Africa, so she works for St. Jude. She works
Mhm.
on the hospital side in global
Right.
pediatric medicine, and my very basic layman's understanding of what she does is essentially they're taking, St. Jude Global is really a huge emphasis for them for the next
Right.
10, 15, 20 years. So they're taking their infrastructure, expertise, resources, and preventing kids cancer all over the world. And so they're
Right.
there meeting with healthcare professionals and organizing conferences. And she's very smart, to put it simply. So yeah, so she's there. She goes a few times
Right.
a year, and hopefully I'll get to go with her at some point.
Hopefully so. Let's put that plug in for that. But yeah, St. Jude is also Memphis based and great organizations, and both of you together, dynamic duo, impacting communities everywhere. I love that. So thank you so much, Jason, for being on today. I appreciate your time. I know that I'll see you in a few months, or actually a couple of months, maybe less than that, for Happy Hour Hoops.
Yeah,
In
yeah.
September. We don't have a date yet, but that'll be the Rebounders official start of the basketball season for the team, and very excited about that. It's been a long year. It's been a tiring year already. I can't believe it's already June. Really?
Right,
Like,
right. Yeah, no, well, I will be there in September, and I did want to take a second just to say thanks again, for having me on. There's so many different ways that you can support
sure.
nonprofits, and
Mm.
this appearances like this really mean a lot, to support the work that we do and to grow it. So thank you.
You're quite welcome. I just when I started this, I started it with Michael Wilson, a former Tiger,
Yeah.
former Harlem Globetrotter, and his schedule kind of got overwhelming for him, and I've continued the torch on, and it really, what we I started it with retired athletes, and then a few weeks ago, a couple of months ago, I started thinking about the lack of attention paid to certain parts of the sports story,
Mhm.
women's sports in particular. And I don't think that other organizations necessarily get it. All I hear is men's basketball and football. That's really all I hear. And I think that there's so many conversations out there that are being missed. And I just wanted to give some impact to that and give a voice to that. So thank you so much for taking the time out today for being on the show. And everybody, make sure that you go and follow. You can go to Coaching for Lit. I'm sorry, championsforlit.org.
Yeah.
And I'll put all the links in the show notes, and you can find all their social media, and you can find all the ways that you can give back and help impact the city of Memphis. And if you're in other cities, because people listen from all over the country, you can find out where if they have a spot there in their city. But yeah, go to championsforlit.org. And anyway, thank you so much. As we wrap up this On the Sideline episode, thank you all for listening, especially if you've made it all the way to this part of the show. I'm hoping that I could ask a small favor. Please take 60 seconds and give the show a review on Apple, and be sure to subscribe. Thank you so much for tuning in to the special series On the Sideline here on the Fifth Quarter Podcast with Jason Baker, Executive Director for Champions for Literacy. Until next time, remember, change is our ally and it paves the way for greatness. Stay inspired. Have a great rest of the week.